welcome to our first ever Nexus Knight Club draft review. So you may have caught on Twitch, we had a draft last week. We had 16 total people. We had two different pods, one a little bit higher buy-in, one a little lower buy-in. I was in the higher buy-in, and I want to take you guys through kind of my picks, what I picked, what I would have done differently, kind of looking back at it. It did feel very quick trying to go through this, so I'll throw it in the top. It was hard to see. I need a better camera angle next time, but I'll try to show you guys, what options I had, where we were in the draft. I'll show on the right what cards I've already selected, and we can kind of go from there. A couple of rules I think that I was going into the draft with was trying to find 5 2-drops to give myself about a 90% chance of finding a 2-drop through my first 7 cards. And then secondly, the other main thing that I was looking for was trying to stick to one color in the first pack. Now, something I did learn is trying to make sure that you only have 2 colors with a power, but I don't think I was as focused on that going into the draft, but definitely lessons after the first draft is you really want to try to be able to only play 2 different colors of runes, even though you can play 3 colors. It did make it a little awkward. I had to run 4, 4, and 4 of my runes. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I'll start the draft over here and kind of talk you through. So first pack 1, pick 1 here. We don't have any bombs. I'll just start there. So I think, going into the draft, I was thinking green and purple are going to be good colors. We do have a Rebuke. We do have a Stalwart Poro. I think called the weakest fine. And I was kind of in my mind between Immortal Phoenix and Noxious Hopeful. So I did end up taking Immortal Phoenix. I think this is an incorrect pick. I really think I should have picked Noxious Hopeful. It's just a good card, right? 4 for 4 that can be cheated out for 2 with Legion. It's an on-curve body with major upside. And we already talked about how we were trying to go for 2-drops. I think Noxious Hopeful is just the better pick all around here. And again, if I could go back and take this pack 1, pick 1, I would have probably picked the Hopeful. But we went with Immortal Phoenix. We don't have any spells yet, but we do at least have a game plan of trying to recur. I didn't know how many threats we'd have in this format, so that was one kind of thought for the Immortal Phoenix. But as you can see here, we went with the Immortal Phoenix. All right. So second pack, as we go through, we drafted our first red. The 3 red cards we see are Trendemir, Noxious Saboteur, and Get Excited. I don't think any of these cards are particularly great. Get Excited, we need some big spells to make that worthwhile. Other cards, 4 for 4, not really what I'm looking at. Pack 2, pick 2. I don't think Set's really playable as an early pick. I think you need buff synergy first as far as legends go. So I ended up taking Clockwork Keeper. I just feel like it's a very solid 2-drop and has the upside of card draw. So also I thought green was going to be a good color overall that I wanted to be in. So moving on to pack 3. I think this pack was relatively easy. We took a red card early. Hextech Ray kind of pairs exactly what we want with the Immortal Phoenix. Nothing else really jumps out. I think Gust is good. I think Soul Gorger again, 8 with 2 power, not really what we want, although some recursion is not bad. Rune Prison in consideration since we did just pick up a green. But I was pretty happy here just taking a Hextech Ray. All right, pack 1, pick 4. So on this pack, again with red, we see Blazing Scorcher and Vi. I think Vi definitely is a good type of finisher that we kind of want in one of these decks. I think Pit Rookie's a good 2-drop. Again, we're looking for 5 2-drops, but without having any orange, wasn't really ready to make that pivot. We do have our 1 green card. I don't think block is amazing card, but I do think it's much better in limited format than it is in constructed, especially when your hiddens are going to be very hidden. People aren't going to know across 3 colors what you're playing. And then find your center. I wasn't really looking to ramp. I really wanted to play tempo. So I think this pack was a easy vibe pick and went from there. Next pack here. This is probably the first pack that I think I made a pretty big mistake. So we look down here at Eager Apprentice, Singularity, and Unchecked Power in blue. We see 0 red cards. We do see a Dune Drake in orange, a Trifarian Glorious Seeker in yellow, which I do think is a good card. Karthus I don't think is really that playable. So we kind of look back at our hand here, and we end up picking the Unchecked Power. I think Singularity is the right pick here. It's 1 less to cost. It can target anywhere in base. And you don't have the drawback of exhausting your units. You're not going to meet the kind of board that Unchecked Power is best at in draft. But at the same time, pick the rare card that I haven't played with very much that kind of kills everything. That was what went on, I think, in my mind. But really, I think this is an incorrect pick. I really think we should be taking Singularity in this pack and not the Unchecked Power. And you can see I wasn't really certain on that pick. But that's where we went. So next pack, we see a Jinx, Loose Cannon. We see Blazing Scorcher, Sky Splitter, Call to Glory. But I really think that this pack is like the easiest pack. We get a clear signal that blue is open. I think Riptide Rex is just a limited, amazing card. Right, we're sitting here on a 2-for-1. It kills a unit, comes in with a 6. I just think this is exactly what you want out of limited card. Blazing Scorcher and Sky Splitter doesn't really do a whole lot. We don't have any big units yet for Sky Splitter to get the discount. Jinx is interesting. We're not playing purple yet, and I did think that we would be lacking cards, and maybe Jinx could be good in a limited format, but I never really seemed to run into that problem, and I didn't have a ton of card draw, so still unclear to me how good Jinx is, and I'm not really ready to pick a battlefield yet in Reaver's Row, so we went with Riptide Rex. Alright, so our next pack here, I think there's really only 2 options. We're not in orange or purple. We're really not trying to make the game go longer with Aspirant's Climb. And I think it's between Stupefy and Legion Regarded. So you can see I kind of look back at my hand, counting 2 drops, and at this point, green may or may not be a card, but firmly we're in red and blue. So I think I was kind of between, do I need to get another 2-drop, or do we go for the Stupefy? And we take the 2-drop. And I'm okay with this. I think both options are okay, but maybe Stupefy is a better choice, but I think that's kind of looking backwards at what I already know. Next pack really just gives us the signal that the blue is all the way open. We look down at another Riptide Rex. And I don't really think there's any choice here. Chemtech Enforcer, while we want more 2-drops, is not the one we want to play. We have 0 discard synergy. I'm not looking to go down cards in a limited format, especially one that I haven't played. Jeweled Colossus, obviously, also in blue, but a 5-for-5 with shield versus a 2-for-1 in Riptide Rex. It's not even close. Next pack here, I think we have a couple choices. It's really between Mega Mech, which is a nice big unit that doesn't cost too much, or the Retreat here. And I kind of quickly picked this, and I went with Retreat, and I never really felt that great to use, but I think this was more about how my game plan went, not talking about the power of Retreat. I do think Retreat is a good card in this format. It's going to save you from some tricks, keep some units alive, effectively card draw in a limited format when you're bound to get taken out by some trick that you didn't plan for. You've only seen 2 of the opponent's colors, and maybe they come out with the trick in the 3rd color. So I do think Retreat is a good card, but I do think Mega Mech was a definite consideration here. All right, next pack. We only have 1 card in our colors, and I think this is just an easy pick crew. If you don't have enough battlefields, you're playing a blank battlefield. Well, the Grand Plaza is basically a blank battlefield anyways. So I went with Pit Crew here. No really other thing to talk about. And the next pack, we look down at basically the same pack, and we take another Pit Crew. Not much to talk about. We're not in purple. So I want to cut off blue, go into the left. And we run into another Pit Crew. So with that said, it looks like we have 3 Pit Crews. Nice 3-drop. Honestly, can be activated with a gear drop and then a Malzahar, which is just a last pick that happens to be in our color, but nothing too exciting. All right, so after our first pack, we're sitting in a decent spot. We have the Immortal Phoenix pick 1, which again probably should have been not the pick, but we have our 2 drops in Clockwork Keeper, which we only have 1 green card, Vi, and Legionnaire Guarded, so we do need to get some more 2 drops. And we just picked up this kind of fleet of Pit Crews, and I don't think I really thought about it so much because Pit Crew's not a card I was thinking about going into the draft, but I do think this should have waited us to look a little bit more at gear as we went forward. So let's jump into the next pack. So next pack here, we see kind of 2 options in my opinion. There's nothing in our rare slots, so just completely not interested in a Kog'Maw or King's Edict. I think this decision is really around the Paudiporo and the Falling Comment, and we just talked about how our 2 drops are a little underrepresented. There is a Trefarian Glory Seeker. We don't have any yellow cards. It is a 2-drop. That's probably a little better than Paudiporo in Limited, but Paudiporo being a fine card, a 2-drop. We also did open the rune, the alt art rune, so we put that in as the prizing as well. So first place also got an alt art rune, and then the lower bracket actually opened 2, so first and second both got an alt art rune, which was a nice little juicer onto the prize pool. So we go ahead and we take our next 2-drop and we pick Paudiporo. So next pack, we see another Noxious Hopeful, the card we probably should have taken pack 1, pick 1. We see Void Seeker. We see the Brazen Buccaneer in our colors. First Mate, very good card, not in our colors. Sorry, the alt, this was not the alt art set Brawler. I don't know what this card was. It looks like I definitely have an error pulling in. This should not be alt art set Brawler. And a Hidden Blade. So for me, this was a pretty easy decision between Noxious Hopeful and Void Seeker. I think Void Seeker is just a little bit better. It replaces itself. It interacts with Immortal Phoenix, and I ended up taking the Void Seeker here. We're a little ahead of the pack, so maybe we can see what that card was supposed to be. Oh, it looks like the green 5/5 blank. So just an issue with my API. All right, next pack. Here we open only 1 red card, or 2 red cards, I guess. Unlicensed Armory and Raging Firebrand. I definitely looked at Raging Firebrand, not a card I was too familiar with. But when you play me, the next spell you play costs 5 less this turn. Not really something that we're looking to do. Our only spells where that may matter is Unchecked Power, which is an interesting combo that I definitely was not thinking about. But here, I think we want the removal. This kind of also works with our Immortal Phoenix, getting the Fallen Comet. It is, again, a no power cost removal too, which is nice. And we really want to stay on. Sorry, my children came running in. So we want to stay on our 2 colors right now. There's no real reason to move into a 3rd color yet. No sort of bomb that's kind of taking us away. And again, if I can stay 2 colors, I want to. So I end up taking the Fallen Comet here. All right, our next pack after this, we see Flame Chompers, Dangerous Duo, and Trendemir in red. I don't think any of those cards are really much of a consideration. In blue, we see Smokescreen and Energy Conduit, and I just feel like this is a slam dunk Smokescreen. Rebuke is a great card, but definitely not in purple right now. Vanguard Captain, okay, 3-drop. And Forge of the Future, I definitely missed this. One of the guys in our draft definitely picked up on this card being good. Forge of the Future is effectively a 2-drop. When you play me, play 1 might recruit tone it to your base, and then it does have the ability to kind of save you if you deck yourself in limited, which, given the fact that we haven't played much, may be a good thing to do. Also, we have Windswept Hillock here to give our units ganking and to get us a battlefield, but I think Smokescreen is just a slam dunk here. Alright, so our next pack, this is pack 2, pick 5. We look down at a pack with regular Leona, not the signed Leona, but Superfy, Consult the Past, and Daring Poro in yellow, another good card. But I think this is a pretty easy Stupefy. Draws a card, nice little combat trick. I expect a lot of combats to be kind of even, so easy Stupefy here. Alright, our next pack, we see a 2-drop in Chemtech Enforcer. Again, not exactly where I want to be. We see Grove of the Godwillow for holding. There's a joke that around our group that never hold is the wrong option. And then I see Soaring Scout and Faithful Manufacturer. So we have a couple of interesting choices here. In this one, nothing's great. I think, we could take a Chemtech Enforcer, but I think just taking a Soaring Scout, which is a generic 2, we only have the 1 green card, and we're not sold on playing it yet. We're basically 2 colors, and there's a 2-drop. Or Faithful Manufacturer, which is just a better card. But I do end up taking the Chemtech Enforcer because we want a 2-drop. But again, we have 0 discard synergy. I don't know that this was the right pick. Maybe just taking a Soaring Scout for a generic 2 that gives us a rune exhaustion when it dies. But this is definitely a pick that I wasn't very sure. But in the moment, I just said, hey, I don't have enough 2-drops. Let's take the red 2-drop. So our next pack, I just don't understand. So this is, again, not the overnumbered Viktor, but regular Viktor. And seeing this pack 2, pick 7, to me was just this massive signal. I think Viktor is just an absolute bomb in draft. And there's no way I'm not taking this. We don't have to worry about 2-drops anymore. We always have a turn 1 play. Our 2-drops now become a guy and a 2-drop when we go second, right? And there's a decent number of 3s on turn 2 that we can just play a guy and a 3 and yellow that we've already seen being passed. Orb of Regret works really well with our pit rookies, but I'm just never taking it over Viktor. We have Imperial Decree and Daring Poro, both great yellow cards, which also shows us that yellow's probably not being taken too highly headed this way. So we take the Viktor and we change our whole strategy here. Slowing down a little bit as the video's getting ahead. I think this is one of those picks I would have liked to have back. So look down at this. We've been picking blue and red. There's no red cards, but we do see a challenge. Great card, not in the colors. Facebreaker, which I think is always a consideration once you play Viktor, because you can stun a guy and have your big guy push over. Mundo and Call to Weak. So I was thinking here at this point, I don't have too much top end. Mundo's in colors. We get a lot for recycling, and again, maybe I can recycle back some cards into my library if we start to deck ourselves. So I end up taking Mundo here, but maybe because I just picked Viktor and wasn't really thinking about the Viktor game plan yet, I just think this is Call to Weak 100 times out of 100. I think this is definitely one of the areas that I made a mistake, and to be honest, I never played Mundo. Like, I lots of times came up with the choice between Mundo and Riptide Rex, and Riptide Rex was just always a better option. So I think this is a pick I would have liked to have back in the Dr. Mundo. All right, pack 2, pick 9. Not much to look at here. We need a 2-drop. We're now in yellow, firmly in yellow with the Viktor. This is just a really easy Trevarian Glory Seeker, and just it's a good card in Viktor as well. So when you play me, buff me. 2-drop happens to get a little bit better later in the game, which you want in limited. So pretty easy pick. Not much to talk about here. Next pack really doesn't have much for us. I think we've firmly committed to our colors. We are not pivoting here at all. I'm never not playing Viktor. We have a lot of blue cards in our Riptide Rexes and our smokescreen that we're not getting rid of, and our Hextechs and our Void Seekers in red. So not really much of a consideration for the 3. I believe I take Reckoner's Arena just to have a battlefield, but I'm pretty sure I looked through my deck quite a few times to see if I had any Conquer effects, which I did not. So I just took it in the off chance that we open up something good. Maybe we get a red Kaisa, in the second pack, which I guess is just kind of a crazy thought, but that was kind of one of my thoughts going in. But just taking Record's Arena, we don't have any battlefields, and none of these cards really fit us. And you see me again riffling through, do I have any Conquer effects? And the answer is just no. No, I do not. All right, next pack. Not much to see here. I mean, we could choose Unlicensed Armory or Vanguard Sergeant, and I think those are, both cards I hope do not make my deck at the end of the draft period, but they are the 2 cards here, and I believe I just take the Vanguard Sergeant and move on to the next pack. Let's see here as we catch up to our packs. Actually, I do think I took Unlicensed Armory, and then I got the Vanguard Sergeant in the next pick. Yep, that's what happened. Neither one of these cards made my deck. That's why I could not remember. So, Energy Conduit, just kind of ramp and blue. Not really what I'm looking for. Just take the generic 4 for 4. It's a playable if I need it, but hope not to play it. And then Leona, non-signature Leona, comes back to us, and we obviously scoop that up because we don't have a choice. Not playing it, we have Viktor, so no matter how we end up, we're just not getting there. All right, so our next pack. Look down here, we see Sprite Call, Get Excited, Volibear, Spectral Maiden, Snapvine, Rebuke. There's a whole bunch of decent cards here, on guard, but I really don't see much in our colors that we want. I don't have much that I want to discard to Get Excited. I guess I could discard something like Riptide Rex or Mundo, but I think here we want to be on board. Faithful Manufacturer, when you play a recruit token here, just really good for what we're trying to do. I think the other consideration really is Sprite's Call. Gives you that kind of accelerate unit that's temporary to help kind of conquer in your colors, but that was the only other consideration. But I ended up taking Faithful Manufacturer here and going to the next pack. All right, pack 3, pick 2. I think maybe I jumped ahead too far. So pack 3, pick 2. We have kind of 3 choices, I think. So there's 2 2-drops and Poros. I'm less concerned about 2-drops now that we have, our Viktor. We always have a play. And then I see Karma. So when you recycle 1 or more cards, buff a friendly unit. And Karma herself triggers this. We also have Vi and Mundo who both trigger this. And we're in yellow. We can play one of those 3 units in the champ zone as well. So I end up taking Karma here. I think it's a good pick. It did provide a lot of value. And I think Karma in general, if you can find a way to get some sort of recycling. I did not realize, not that it really came up, Vi's instance herself every single time. So you can actually, buff basically your whole team after that. So. All right, next pack. Next pack we see, another 2-drop in Chemtech Enforcer. Again, Forge the Future. I was just not really on this card and thinking yet at the time, but it should definitely have been a consideration here. But I ended up taking Divine Judgment as a card. I think this is kind of a nombo with Viktor, but was one of the, my kind of thought process through the whole thing, is that, well, I can strip people's cards if they draw a lot of cards, maybe in a pinch, but I really think this is a nombo. But there's not really much to draw. I think Orb of Regret obviously works well with those pick crews that we were talking about. But Forge of the Future, probably the right pick, but we took the Divine Judgment. All right. Next pick here, another Orb of Regret. I don't know what this card is that keeps being coming in a set brawler. There's Convergent Mutation. There's Petty Officer. This is Trefarian War Camp. No, this is Trefarian War Camp. So I don't know what this card is. But I look down and I see Trefarian War Camp, and I'm playing Viktor. You get War Camp. It just felt like I was winning on all levels when I snap picked this card. All right, our next pick here, we see Magma Worm, which I think is an interesting consideration. We see Wrath of Echoes, and we see Pouty Poro. I was thinking, in the moment that Wrath of Echoes was going to be really good with Viktor. Gives me a draw engine late if I need it. I can just throw guys in one at a time, get the one draw per turn, and try to catch back up. I do think Pouty Poro would have been a good consideration, and even Magma Worm from some top end, but I was trying to avoid 8s. So we do end up taking the Wrath of Echoes here. Alright, now I think we're caught up to the video. Here we see, Lecture and Yordle, Noxian Drummer, and Face Breakers are 3 choices. I did want a little bit more recruits, something that doesn't deramp us, and Noxian Drummer just plays very well, and we just picked up that Trefarian War Camp, so I think this was a pretty easy pick over the Lecture and Yordle. It just felt like it played a little better in our deck. Alright, so next pack we see another Sky Splitter, we see Fortified Position, Jeweled Colossus, Vanguard Captain, Thermal Beam. I'm not really trying to hate, this isn't Spirit Forge. So when I look down and see this pack, just getting more and more Viktor cards that just seem to keep coming at us. So we take the Vanguard Captain and go to the next pick. Now we see, my favorite 2-drop. I play Set and Cythria, not where we're looking at. There's Yasuo. Is there really Yasuo in this pack? There's definitely Yasuo in this draft. And Zon Warrens. I end up taking Zon Warrens here. I think looking back, probably Lecture and Yordle. The bad thing about Zon Warrens, yes, it lets you get through your deck, but lots of times somebody else is going to be able to use this a little bit better than you do. But we do take it here to get our second battlefield. Next pack, I think this one, another mistake. So we have the option to take Targon's Peak, Forge of the Future, or Spectral Matron. I believe I take Spectral Matron here. And I don't think I ever played this card. I think taking Forge of the Future or Targon's Peak are both just better. But this was one of the learnings through. Next pick, between Facebreaker and Jeweled Colossus, we end up taking the Jeweled Colossus. I think you could argue either one here, but I was looking at Karma in our champ zone with another Vision unit and ended up taking the Jeweled Colossus here. Again, I think Facebreaker may have been a little bit better pick here, but this was the first draft, and having a 5-drop that doesn't take power, has that tank 1 and that Vision for pairing with Karma. Next pack, kind of nothing for us here, but we just take the Altar of Unity and kind of move on. And then lastly, there was a second card here. I don't know exactly what it was. There was some confusion, but we take the Orb of Regret, which actually ended up making our deck. Did, like I said, activate those pick crews. Worked out very nicely. And then last, we hit a Convergent Mutation as our last pick, and this card, before we had Viktor, wasn't really interested in, but once we had Viktor, grabbing this, playing a Mundo or a Vi next to it, and then just raising its might to the might of another friendly unit, just gives you, 2 large bodies for really the cost of 1 large body, and this card ended up playing very nicely, so I was very happy when this got passed to me at the end. And that was the end of our draft. I will attempt to pull up a picture here to show the whole draft and what I drafted. So I'll give you guys a little view in here. Let's switch scenes. So here we have kind of the whole people making their draft decks. After we weren't very private, it was funny. We were just kind of building our decks across from each other. No one was that concerned, which was definitely interesting. Maybe we'll have a little bit more privacy in the future. But I do remember, facing off against people that I was sitting at this table with, and I couldn't even remember what their third color was. So clearly, we weren't trying to cheat out other people. And then let's see, we ended up with our final draft being Viktor in the Legend unit, which was just absolutely incredible. I mean, the fact that that card just passed to us in Pack 2 was absolutely insane. I still don't believe it, to be honest. Like, it just seems strange that nobody picked Viktor up. I guess they were firmly in colors and didn't want to veer off from there. But I think it was a mistake to let that go through. I probably would have hate drafted that card had I seen it and not been in the colors. But it is what it is. Well, we can just go like this. I can't seem to find my overall draft, but here we go. So this was the end. Our cards, again, that Immortal Phoenix, Pack 1, Pick 1. Doesn't seem too great looking back at it now. It's not terrible. We have some cards that help us use it, and the Void Seekers, Actix Rays, and the Falling Comet. Clockwork Keeper, our second pick, does not make our deck. Hexic Ray, Vi, great cards for this deck. Unchecked Power, again, wish it would have Singularity. Did blow out my buddy Joe one time, which was fantastic. He's like, how do you have that card? It was pretty funny. He was pretty angry. Riptide Rex, again, MVP of this format. Just solid body with the 6 might or 6 damage to the unit at the battlefield. Just so good. Triple Pit Crew. I actually only put 1 Pit Crew in my deck. I think dumping Mundo, putting another Pit Crew in was probably better. I also misplayed a couple times where I could have played Pit Crew with Orb of Regret. Karma turned out to be really good. A lot of buffs in general. A lot of these times in Limited, you're looking at 4 into 4 or 2 into 2, so having that buff definitely changes the math just right in your favor. So that was a really, really good card. I ended up going 2-1. Did take the guy who ultimately went 3-0 to 3 games. Couldn't quite get over. Then we did a top 4, got into the finals, and then lost to first place. He had a pretty solid deck as well. I think a lot of people had him as the favorite going in, and he won. He's definitely the most competitive player in our group. Very practiced, studying hard for Spirit Forge for Vegas, and wish him the best of luck out there. So after our first draft, I don't think it could have went much better. It was an absolute fantastic event, and we're excited to kind of move on. So I want to give you guys a little bit of a look on what that means. So we are going to create a league out of this now. So I want to be the first and best limited Riftbound place to play. So we've started the Nexus Knight Club in my basement. We'll host up to 36 players, 32 players. I think we can probably fit. Any more than that, I'll have to expand. But my goal is to get at least to that point of 32 players and do a draft league here. So we'll have 12 events over the year. We'll have a ranked ladder. We'll stream all our events. I'll try to do reviews like this. I'll get better at this as we go forward to talk about my picks, work on some of this API stuff so I can really show you guys in a clean way what my options were. All these events will be catered. We get food, we have drinks, and then we'll have prizes for each match and season end prizes. So that's going to work. There's going to be 12 events, 3 per set, starting at Spirit Forge. Our first event will be here in Farmington Hills on February 22nd. And then the date for each next draft, I want to talk to everyone and kind of set them together for the people who are here. And then we'll post that at least 1 month out in advance. Here's some shots from that. See a little overhead view of the match. I'm trying to see. I don't think I was in play at this time. Actually, no, this was me playing Viktor, so was on the feature table here at the time. And we're going to get a little bit better, try to get a commentator for the stream as well. Our event buy-ins will be $40 per person, about $18 for packs at $6. If I have to spend a little bit more on boxes because that's just what they are, then we'll do that. $15 goes towards food and drinks, and $7 will go into prizing. So all of this is going back into basically what you get that day. And each entrant will also receive 1 raffle ticket. So you can see the prizes for the night, and we'll have, packs for first, second, and third and fourth. If we have 16, we'll go up to 8 if we get to 24 or 32, and we will do packs at raffle. That way, just participating, you have a chance to win something. You will earn points, mainly around Swiss games. So the Swiss game wins are your major source of points. When you're below gold, you don't get lost points. That's the big thing. So you win a Swiss game, you get 3. You lose, you don't lose anything. Once you get greater than gold 4, you will begin to lose 1 point for a loss, and then above diamond, you'll lose 2 points for a loss. You make top cut, you get +1. You get an additional +1 for 4th through 1st. And this won't change even if we get to top 8s. Top 8, you'll just get your 1 point for top cut, and then additional points for 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. What does all this mean? What do all these points get you? So here are the ranks and the points required. So iron, everyone starts at iron. After 10 points, you'll be at bronze, 25 points silver, and then we'll have 3 tiers for both gold. So gold 3, gold 2, gold 1. Same for platinum, emerald, and diamond. And then master tier will be anyone over 110 points. And then grandmaster will be anyone over 120, but also only the top 2, 3, and 4 players. And then we'll have our Highlander rank. You must meet 120 points and be the top player. And there can be only 1 Highlander, as we all know. What does this get you? So you're in prizing. So I do a lot of 3D printing. We gave away deck boxes and tokens for prizing in the lower buy-in event this past time. And we will be doing similar things. So printed token with your name and rank will happen for each one. So there'll be a token color and design for Iron through Highlander, and you'll get that with Season 1 with your name and rank. Once you get into Gold and above, everyone will get a booster pack. And then for each level into Platinum, you'll get a season-ending raffle ticket. And these raffle tickets will have some additional prizes that can be won. Then once we get into our master ranks, you'll also get a token box. Grandmaster rank will also get you a deck box. And then the last Highlander will get a custom mat that will get designed for the Nexus Knight Club draft and a trophy. For participation, if you show up and you do 50-50, I've built it so Gold 3 will get you, to that point. So as long as you're showing up and you manage to be about 50% in your events, you will reach Gold. But these end of the year raffle prizes will be 24 booster packs, 1 total booster box, so we'll do 24 individual drawings. And then, 4 3D printed tokens and 6 3D printed boxes. You can see some of them that I have here. I plan on designing some of my own that, modify some of the things I've seen and liked from other people's deck boxes, but want to make some changes. So this is our goal. I want to try to grow this as much as I can. Obviously, getting product is difficult. I don't want to mark up any of the product. It's already a little bit hard to get, but I am trying to look for boxes in the $125 to $150 range and then use them for our events. So if anyone knows of any places that have them at retail, please let me know. And if you do, those boxes will never be ripped open by me, but they'll always go to this draft. So want to thank everyone for the time going through both my draft and kind of talking about Nexus Knight Club and what to expect from us going forward. Thank you all. Have a good day.